Welcome to Naked Pixels. Short clips with advice from the Naked Texture Artist podcast, where my guests answer questions all artists struggle with. Enjoy. The reason why I wanted to speak to you specifically is because you have quite an active life on the side as an illustrator and an author of children's books. And I think a lot of visual effects artists, this is something we do for a paycheck, and there are absolutely enjoyable moments in this work that we have. But creatively, we're mostly doing somebody else's vision. So if you have all of these fantastic ideas, this is maybe not the place where you can expect to express them through your day-to-day work. So a lot of us have these dreams and about, I'd love to do this other thing on the side. And you've been going at it pretty vigorously. What have you put out now? Like, I'm counting 8 books. 5 of them are your own, or something like you've contributed to 8 books and 5 you've written yourself. Is that about right?
So I have 6 published books, and I have 2 more forthcoming. All of them I have also written, except for one. I was an illustrator for another author who is a ballet dancer, actually, for the New York Ballet. So yeah, I'm busy. I'm a busy, crazy person.
That's what I wanted to talk to you about.
And I have a family, so yeah.
How that's that thing with the family, that's a whole separate story altogether. But what does that life look like? Having such a, something that looks like quite a sizable, this is not just some little hobby thing you're doing. Having a sizable second life as an artist outside of all already, I would imagine, a demanding job as a texture supervisor that's going to eat as much time as you'll let it. What does that look like? You once told me that you don't have time to watch TV. Was that an exaggeration, or is that correct?
I do a little bit, but probably not as much as, your average person. I do work hard. I mean, I've been doing this now for, I don't know, my first book came out in 2016, I think, or something. So it's not like I've just been banging them out one after the other. They take a long time to do. And, it's my project. It's my passion projects. I spend a lot of time at night, after my kids are in bed, working on my own personal stuff. And it brings me a lot of joy. I really like working on stories that I've created and built, and it's kind of a way for me to express my own creativity, I guess. And it's actually, I think, as the kids are getting older, it's a little bit easier for me in terms of time, just because they're a little bit more independent now, whereas when they were really little, to do my book stuff, it was definitely like, put the kids to bed, hop on and do 3 hours of illustration,
Is that how you typically work, that you try to block out a large chunk of time here and there? Or is it more like, I gotta get my X minutes in every day, as sort of slow and steady wins the day? Or what is in your experience, what is the best way to structure these kind of projects?
Sort of have a loose guideline and give myself some leeway, but I do try to. So for example, I'm working on a junior graphic novel right now, and I have some time to finish it, but I have a lot of illustrations to do. And so I sort of set a goal for myself of trying to do 2 pages a week as sort of a guideline. Now, all of the drawing is done. Now I'm just moving on to the coloring. So I'm just doing the coloring now, which makes it a little bit easier. I think when you're actually working on the development process, that can take a little bit longer. The illustration itself, you're still discovering and figuring things out, but it's a little bit more straightforward because it's not still all in your head. You've kind of got it figured out at that point, if that makes sense.
I was talking to Miriam Katrin, a senior texture artist at Weta, who also has been drawing comic books in her spare time. And it seemed to me that she would have a bit of both, where you have a little bit every so often. And then she basically took, I think it was a 6 months period, and just did a massive sprint to get it over the finishing line.
Yeah, I mean, I've been fortunate enough that I have asked for a bit of unpaid leave in between projects. and have been able to dedicate a few weeks here and there to kind of working on my books. I don't think I could have managed without that time completely, because you do need, a little bit of, you can't just keep going all the time without, you know, being able to kind of solely focus on it a little bit. So I've been fortunate.
Yeah, good ideas take time. You gotta have some breathing space in between where things can percolate in the background.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think this is the thing, right? Like working on my books thing, it is my own personal work, but it is quite lonely, right? Like I talk
Yeah.
to maybe an editor or an agent every once in a while, but you're not you're not working with people. You might maybe, have a writing partner or something that you might periodically exchange emails with or something like that. But I think what I do like about my visual effects job is that it is much more collaborative and working with a team. And it's part of it that I really enjoy.
For your books and the illustration work that you do for your books, I don't know, how do you summarize that? Do you have, I don't know, a theme for your storytelling, or some kind of guiding light that you're pointing towards? Many great creators. I'm thinking that have put a stamp on something. We were just mentioning Shang Yimou a moment ago. I'm thinking about other similar creators. You can quite quickly tell them apart. They have their unique style. They have their unique voice, themes that keep reverberating and so on. How do you see yourself as a creator in that respect? Do you
Oh
have
gosh, honestly,
a theme you formulated, or just one you stumbled upon, or
no. Oh gosh, no. I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to figure it out because I like doing it, It's not, I don't have a grand plan really. There are certain themes that pop up in my work, things like imagination and, you know, uh, I don't know. That's a hard question, Mark. That's a hard one.
okay, no
Yeah, I mean,
problem.
I just really, I enjoy creating for children. I think they're an incredible audience. I think that they can benefit so much from that format of reading, and I find it for me that storytelling in that way is actually very, very similar to filmmaking. It's almost like a storyboard. It's a very visual format, and I find that what I like about it is that it's like a puzzle. It's like trying to solve this puzzle. You've got 32 pages to make something. You have to fit so much into those 32 pages to make it, you know, really tight and to work as a story, which is challenging, and I enjoy that kind of challenge, I guess.
Is your work informed by your own children, or not at all?
Well, certainly, I mean that they've had an influence on my life, so yes.
Okay, so in a broad
But I
sense,
mean, you get,
but not sort of
yeah, in a
like your
broad
daughter
sense.
one day says something to you and you're like, oh, let me make I don't know, like, Mom, where does the ants live? Next thing you're making a book about
No, well, this
insects
is
in your
exactly how it
backyard.
all started, actually. This is exactly how it all started because I I had always thought I would work on, maybe making like a short film. And I have, in fact, started to do that. And I found it all kind of a little overwhelming. You're quite dependent on, other people. And I just wanted to make a story. And so it started because, in fact, my daughter pointed at the moon one night and she said, "Hey, Mom, I think the moon is following us." And this was a long time ago. We were playing softball out in the field. And that sentence, "the moon is following us," sort of sparked this idea. And I wrote a little kind of like a poem about it. And then I started to dive into it a little bit more and started illustrating it and just sent it off to a few small publishers and thought, let's see what happens. I didn't really have a grand plan of like, oh, I'm going to try to be a children's illustrator and I'm going to do this. It just, I got really lucky that a little publisher picked it up, and it got me really excited, and I kind of just sparked the joy for me to carry on making those books. So
So you stumbled. It wasn't like you were a fan of the medium and you think, I want to make something like that, but you just kind of stumbled upon that and had a success experience and then went from there.
Kind of. I mean, I had been reading a lot of children's books because at the time my kids were really young when I first started. And I always thought it was a gorgeous medium. I mean, it's just amazing. And there's so much talent out there. And there's just such a variety of different types of illustration and stories, you know. And yeah, I don't know. I thought it might be something to try.
Sure. Yeah. Good enough. Sometimes that's all it takes, right? Isn't that what Woody Allen said? 80% of success is just showing up. Just have a go. See what happens.
Yeah. That's true, I think. I think with anything, you know, whatever your hobby or interest is, it's actually, you know, that whatever somebody said one time, 10,000 hours.
Yeah, to get good.
You know, if you spend enough time. Yeah, and this is the thing, like with my books, I mean, I look back and I kind of cringe a little bit because I go, oh gosh, you know, and I'm like, there's so many artists that are so amazing out there, and I admire very much and aspire to get to that level maybe at some point in my life. But I think you have to, even if you're not, you know, even if you don't make the most amazing thing in the world, I think putting it out there is the only way that you're really going to improve and to get feedback. And you kind of have to start somewhere, right? So, I mean, when I was saying that I was feeling more confident before, I don't think I meant in a way like confident in my skills. I'm more comfortable with my mistakes in certain ways, if that makes sense.
I think that makes a lot of sense. This reminds me of something that the film director Joss Whedon said, something to I'm butchering his wisdom there, but something half bad, whatever, not terribly good, but finished is infinitely better than something perfect that is never finished.
Exactly.
So you gotta get it to good enough, put it out there, and just go again. You know, I think Stanley Kubrick said something to that effect as well. You just learn film, make a film with whatever you have available, go again, you know, over and over.
Totally. And I think that's absolutely true. And maybe that's why I'm drawn to projects that have a definitive ending, you know?
Yeah.
Because at some point it has to be done, you know, and it might not be the most amazing thing you've ever produced, but it's a stepping stone to the next thing, right?
Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. We have a tiny bit of housekeeping to do on the way out. If this episode has been helpful to you, why not share the podcast with your colleagues and friends? If you'd like to support the podcast, I'd appreciate if you bought me a coffee. You can do that on Ko-fi. That is spelled ko-fi.com/The Naked Texture Artist. One word. If you have suggestions, comments, or questions, I'd love to hear them. Feel free to drop me a line on thenakedtextureartist@gmail.com. That is The Naked Texture Artist written out in all one word @gmail.com. As I mentioned, having a busy day job in visual effects means my release schedule for this podcast can be a bit irregular. So if you don't want to miss out, subscribe to The Naked Texture Artist wherever you get your podcasts. Or follow the podcast on the socials, then you'll be alerted when the next episode drops. The music in this episode was Awake by Tycho. Nick Sifoni helped put the sound together, and everything else was done by me, your host, Marque Pierre Sondergaard. Speak to you soon.